Hello, composers, and welcome to another music review day, and also a time where I want to just talk about something that bugs me about composing today, or bugs me about advice that's being giving out to composers. I call it dumb composing advice. Now, you may not think these things are dumb, and if you're in the chat today, you can tell me if you think these are dumb. I'll get your thoughts as I go through all these, but there's something has been bothering me this week with it kind of started with a question I got the other day on YouTube, and people have just been asking me questions about composing. And let me stress this: these are not dumb questions. These are not wrong questions. There are no dumb questions when you're trying to learn and trying to figure things out about composing. But the advice that's being given to these people, though, sometimes feels dumb to me. Sometimes feels wrong-headed, if you will, a little bit. I just don't like the advice being given to young composers, especially young composers in the licensing space, because I think that, we tend to really focus on the licensing space, maybe a little too much. There's a lot of other worlds, folks, besides licensing. There's a lot of you are starting to really stretch out and put stuff on Spotify and get stuff out there. Some of us are really working to get our works up to places like Arrange Me and get those kind of compositions up. There are compositions that people are going to play live. Yes, people still play live new compositions, and there are lots of things that are being done by artists that need compositions that you can compose for. So, and this is a channel that is especially for composers just starting out. So I maybe not only, but I just feel like the best thing that I can do, and I'm doing this at school, is I literally teach beginners every day at the school that I work at. And these people sometimes have never played a note in their life, and they've never seen a DAW in their life. The other thing I really want this channel to be about is composing for DAW composers, people who are composing on digital audio workstations and trying to figure out how to do that to the best of their ability. So I give them cheat codes, and I'm talking about my students. I give my students cheat codes in order to do things, loops and instruments and things like that they can use, and I think that helps them. But at the same time, I am trying to teach them to write actual notes, write actual music, rather than just to use loops all the time. One of my biggest bugaboos right now, one of the things that I hate to hear, is a student who walks in and says, "Yeah, I just made a new song yesterday." I'm like, "You did?" I said, "Yeah, I just downloaded a beat and then I rapped over it." And I'm thinking, you didn't create a song. That's not creating a song. It's kind of like when someone sends me lyrics. It's on the other side of it. They send me lyrics and they say, "I just wrote this song." And they send me lyrics. I say, "Do you have a melody?" And they say, "No, it's just a new song I wrote." And I am like, okay, this is not really a song. This is a poem. So some people will choose to do and actually play things. They will use their fingers and their hands, some of my students. And others do a mix of loops and playing, and probably you do a mix of loops and playing, and I know I do as well. But I'm okay with cheat codes for beginners. I'm okay with that. The real players are going to play. The rest will just download from BeatStars, and that's fine, I guess. The people who just want to make music and put in minimal effort will do whatever quick thing they can. But the people that I want to teach, the people who I hope are watching this channel, will actually work hard to play notes, to play melodies, to learn chords that work in the keys that they are in, to put chords together. Composers gonna compose, or I hope they will. But lately I've been seeing some some dumb quote unquote rules that people are telling me. I think we have to be very careful on our channels here to teach composers things that that they can do just to get on stock music, or just to get on BeatStars, or just to get into sync licensing, or just to get stuff done fast so you can get more music out and just pile up music. Some of these things can end up putting, and I know this from my experience, they can end up putting composers in chains for years or decades before you can break out of that. I think I didn't truly really break out of a lot of chains that I was in as a composer until I did more schoolwork, more study, and of course my master's in composition, and had to be pushed by a professor to get out of the box that I was in, that I learned from creating music with MIDI. So let's start with one thing that I think is a big problem. And it's something we all start with, and it's something you are told and taught online to start with, and that is the 4-bar loop. This is a trap that if you aren't careful, you can be stuck in for a long time. I know I was. Yes, for students starting out, when I have them in class this week, literally this week, I am teaching students how to use Logic, what MIDI is, how to make compositions. We have to start today and tomorrow and finish a MIDI composition. And so a lot of them are going to be using loops and building things. So they start with a beat for 4 measures or for 8 measures, and they play some chords with that beat to on some polyphonic instrument. And by the way, if you don't know what a polyphonic instrument is, that is a piano or a guitar or a string sound or something that plays more than one note at a time. Poly meaning more than one, and or many, and polyphonic is just playing something that has the ability to play more than one note. And then add a bass line. So that's what I'm trying to get these people to do, and then make an A section that's 4 or 8 bars, and then make a B section that's 4 or 8 bars. Okay, so this in itself is not bad, and if you're being taught this is not a bad thing, a bad place to start, especially if you are brand new as a composer. And again, even for certain types of stock music, this might be what libraries are looking for, repeating bars of music that just kind of continue. Lo-fi is like this. It's a repeated kind of groove that sometimes drops down and builds up and things like that. And that's not a bad thing. And after you put an A section together, you put a B section, and maybe you put some other instruments in it and all that kind of thing. But I think what you've got to do is you've got to start at some point to break out of the 4-bar loop and get into a place where you are using that 4-bar loop as a starting point, maybe the beat and some chords, and then you are adding, and you are then going back and playing through that loop and adding more stuff. This is one of the hardest things to teach students as well. Yes, you've made a 4-bar loop. Yes, it sounds fine. But when you copy that A section to be another verse later, make sure that you're adding to that. So it's not the same thing. Our ears want to hear more than just the same thing repeated over and over, copy and pasted. We can tell we live in a lo-fi culture, so it's fine for it to be that, and we don't care. But you as a composer, you need to do better. It's similar to like bringing in a loop, like a loop of a drum loop. And let's say it's a loop from Logic, and you bring it in, and it's some loop anybody could just pull over. And then you chop that up, you figure out ways to hide that loop with other beats that you make and other things, and it's not the same loop anymore. And I think a 4-bar loop of anything you make, every time you have that 4-bar loop happening, something else needs to be in it. It needs to be growing. It needs to be changing. It needs to be maturing, if you will, from throughout the song. And sometimes I think that has to do with live playing all the way through a song. Now, listen, I composed this way for a long time. I started my composing and my arranging and my MIDI work in my actual working with sequencers with an Ensoniq ESQ1. And that was a beautiful keyboard. It was the first keyboard I had with what we called a sequencer in it. I don't even know if people use the word sequencer anymore, but sequencing is basically what you are doing in a DAW with MIDI. You're sequencing the notes, you're sequencing the sections, all that kind of stuff. I think if I'm remembering right, it had 8 or 16 sequences that you could program for 4 or 8 or 16 bars, and then you could hook them together. So I'd make an intro sequence, I'd make a verse loop, I'd make a chorus loop, I'd make a bridge loop, and then I could go back and forth and string the song together in the order I wanted to. It would sound very fine. V-fine, you might say. But it would actually sound, but it would eventually, the problem with something like that is it starts to sound repetitive. It starts to be robotic, and it starts to be very, it starts to be just hard to kind of get any emotion out of. And so even if my intro went into the verse, my verse to the chorus, my chorus back to the verse, all that kind of stuff would be fine. But the problem is I really needed to change the second verse and add something to it, or change it the way I did it. And a lot of us are using that 4-block approach, that 4-bar loop and another 4-bar loop and another 8-bar loop and another 4-bar loop. And then we're just copy and pasting because the gurus have told us this is the way you quickly put together music in MIDI, especially for stock music or for sync licensing or whatever. And I think eventually the 4-bar loop ends up being a track that one day you're going to have to move away from if you want to be considered a serious composer. I think these 4 or 8 bars in general actually are just 4 or 8 bars in general are just constructs that we're going to have to rethink. My composition teacher kind of challenged my notions on this whole thing about 4 bars, 8 bars, 16 bars. Yes, for pop music, for commercial music that we want to get out there for use. A lot of times 4 or 8 bars is something that we are going to need to use, but we're going to have to be very careful with that. And so I was pushed out of that box by my composition teacher, and I think that was a big, big growth in my work. Yeah, hi Beethoven. Yeah, both Beethovens are here with us today. So Arco says 4-bar loop is good for learning arrangements, mixing, and other stuff, but when you go to composing music, 4-bar is not the end. Yeah. Daydream says that's the conflict we see on the stock music market. I get the impression customers want the simplest music possible, and composers follow that demand. Right, but customers, I don't think, are thinking, I hope this is made with a 4-bar loop. They are thinking, we get into this this making of things in a certain way, and we have to be careful that we don't get caught up in this, because customers want good music. They may know they want a certain sound, but that doesn't mean it has to be made with only 4-bar loops over and over. Comfort Noise says, I only recently started to break out of that habit. Absolutely. Fret Noise says, ESQ1 is great. Absolutely. I wish I had mine still. Marley says, my first sequencer keyboard was a Korg Trinity. Awesome board, but it only had 16-note polyphony. Yeah, yeah, that kind of limits you. You need more notes than that. Polyphony, by the way, different than polyphonic. 2 different words. Polyphonic means it's a sound that can play more than 1 note at a time. Polyphony meaning that we can play, meaning how many notes we can play at a time. For instance, on a piano, you can play 88 notes at a time if you can press them all down at the same time. Andrea says my first sequencer was the Korg i3. Cool. Rhett, how are you doing? Good to see you here. All right, so let me move on with this, or I'll be all day with this. The next thing I want to talk about that kind of, I don't know where this came from, but I got some kind of message the other day. I think it was a YouTube comment, and the guy says, so I have been told by blank guru blank that I need to go ahead and make my ending so that I'll know how to end the song and I can work towards that ending. I was like, I'd never heard that before. Maybe this is a common piece of advice that people are telling composers. Yes, go ahead and make the ending before. I guess I hope you've started the song before you started the ending. But they say maybe, go ahead and make it. This is more of this cookie cutter approach that is really kind of getting on my nerves. And I couldn't find that comment today, but I told this guy, you don't need to make an ending before it ends. Some guru told him to go ahead and make an ending so you'll know where the song is going and have the ending already when you get there. No, I'm not paused, but I just felt a Dave Croft pause was warranted for that. An ending, I hope it's, like I said before, you make a beginning. So here's what I say. Why don't we make a song and see where it goes and then see where it ends? An ending should appear to you. Now, I will say this. I think sometimes you could have an ending that you look at time and you go, okay, we're at about, what I do with endings is say, okay, I'm at about 2:30 and there's an ending, there's a way to end right here. It's at the end of a B section, or it's at the end of a build, or whatever. This is a logical ending spot. To me, that's how you choose the ending. I don't think the ending chooses you. And so I think this is not a great piece of advice. I don't know if anybody else has heard about this. Rhett says, that just broke my brain. Fret Noise said, I never heard that either. Let's see. Fret Noise says, let's make a song with only endings. Yeah. Ba-bum. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. Daydream says, like a book author, who writes the end of his story first? Well, that's a little different. You might have an idea for how it might end. Let's say you're building something and maybe you say, hey, it's got a nice cadence at the end of this song, bum, bum, and that'll likely be how it ends. I like to end on less perfect cadences sometimes, more leaving things in the hook. Shane, going back to the loop thing, says, the loop idea was very foreign to me as I started mainly composing in the classical world. Yeah. Only now starting to learn the style, I'm more familiar with writing things out. And this is what I'm talking about when I started writing things for my composing degree. My composing teacher would be like, everything is 4 bars long or 8 bars long, every single thing. I could, I know how this is going to go. I can just tell you how this is going to go. I don't even have to listen to the rest. And I think a lot of us can tell that. When I listen to your songs, sometimes I say, okay, I know where this is going. So, yeah, and I think people coming from the classical background look at the 4-bar loop and go, wow. But the preset ending might even be more hilarious to them and also might break the brains of classical people. All right, so that was great, Brett. Let's now move to templates. Now, I know this is a touchy subject because everybody likes to work with templates. I don't think templates are dumb. Basically, if you don't know what a template is, this is where you set up your DAW to have certain instruments up when you get there. So you'll be ready to start composing right away. I've even heard one, and I can't remember who said it, and even if I could, I wouldn't say who it is, but said, hey, if you got a song you like and you did, just save that as a template and take all the music out and do another one with that same template. And I'm sorry, folks, I can't abide this. I cannot abide that idea that I'm going to show you that song that I just showed you over the front. I'll show it again at the end of this thing. But that song that I showed at the beginning of this, All Together Forward, I can't imagine that I would take that song and then take all the sounds out of it and just make another song with all the same sounds and all the same loops, I guess, or slow it down. And I mean, if you're not able to compose something new without going back to an old song and using what you used before, all the sounds, then maybe composing is not what you're after. Maybe arranging or just cranking out tunes is what you're after. Maybe you should just consider widget making from a music point. And that's going to go with the next thing too. I actually used to use a loop. I actually used to use a template with a piano patch, a loops patch, a drums patch, and a bass instrument, because that's usually what I was creating popular music. And so I would need a piano patch to play the arrangement and play the song. I would need a loop to play along with, because I like playing with a loop better than a metronome. I would need a drums patch to go in and play the drums over that once I had the piano done. And then I would need a bass to go to play the bass part after the drums. I usually always need that. But what I found out was, after a few years, I realized that almost everything I did had a similar sound to it. Everything had a similar drum sound, a similar bass sound, it had a similar sound. It had those loops in it. It had the drums. And so now, by the way, this is for non-orchestral. This is for non-orchestral people. I just want to make sure that you know that. If you have an orchestral template where you've listed the entire orchestra in a template because you have to do orchestral arranging or orchestral orchestrating of things, I'm not going to be mad at you. That is something that is pretty much every time you use an orchestra, you're going to use similar orchestral things. But so I don't know if you're using templates. I have stopped. Here's my template right now. My template is one software instrument, blank, one audio track, blank, one large reverb, and one small reverb, kind of already set up in sends, and a master with a limiter on it. That's my template. Can't think of anything else is in there. Maybe just the way I like to have I don't know, whatever else. But there's no sounds loaded in. I want to start with a blank canvas, and a blank canvas may scare you. And so if it scares you, let me know. But templates are templates are something I use. Arco says, I refresh my page when Dave pauses. First time when I discovered Dave Cross for the first time. That's pretty funny. So if you use templates, let me know here in the chat or in the comments below. I'd love to know if you think I'm totally off and I am whack, as the kids like to say today. All right, the next thing that I want to talk about, and the pretty much last thing, is I want to talk about the theory or the thought that it doesn't really matter what you write. I have a feeling sometimes that that gurus or people out there are saying, as long as you are giving the customer what they want and writing to a brief or writing for stock music and writing corporate music, just crank it out. It doesn't matter. And this especially goes for the licensing space. I can't think of any other space that you would think about just cranking out music. You don't just crank out any old thing to put on Spotify. You don't just crank out any old thing to premiere at an event in front of people. You don't just crank out anything to win a Grammy. You are carefully composing. And I think this whole, it doesn't matter what you write, just a job, just a client, just a brief, just crank out something. Doesn't matter if you like it. Can you imagine? And maybe you do this, but it doesn't matter if you like what you are making. Go ahead, just crank it out. I hope that those of you watching are about more with your compositions than just licensing. Licensing is a fun thing to talk about. Licensing is a neat, cool thing that we can do with our music, but there's more to being a composer than just licensing. This will be one of the tenets of this channel. On my other channel, it's one of my tenets of Make Music Income is about you need to be making music income from many sources, not just one thing. I talk about all the music income things. But on this channel, one of the tenets of this channel will be you need to be more of a composer than just a licensing composer. There's nothing wrong with licensing. I'm fully involved fully engaged in licensing, both sync and stock. Not stock on purpose, but just stock because it exists and it's a side hustle. But you need to be thinking as a composer with everything. You need to love everything you're composing. Hello, composers. You really need to be doing those kinds of things. But the advice to just, produce music and for production music and for sync licensing and stock grooves is just crank it out. Just crank it out. It's music nobody cares about. It's music in the background. Just crank it out and move on. Now, hey, nobody loves a portfolio or a large catalog more than me. I'm talking to a lot of people right now who I'm trying to do video work for me, maybe some arranging work or different things for me. And I'm asking them, let me see what you've done. Let me see your portfolio. I think a portfolio is hugely important. On the mastermind I'm thinking about doing on Make Music Income, we'll talk about that in a minute. Also doing one of HelloComposers. This will be a prerequisite, I can say the word, for my Make Music Income mastermind. You will have to have a catalog of a certain amount. I don't know what that amount is going to be, but you'll have to have that to be part of our Make Music Income mastermind, because I can't help you make music income if you don't have any songs. Now, on the HelloComposer masterminds, it's going to be a little different. I'll talk about that next. So yes, we need to have a large catalog, and I think that's very important. And I am really focused on a large catalog, and getting songs out to libraries is very important. But is it okay for me to say, man, it's just a song for stock or sync or a library or this client, so I don't have to really put my heart and soul into it? And I think if you're doing that, I think this can be another real trap for you, my friends. I think you have to be very careful with this one. I think you can get into this place where you are just, and believe me, I have been there, where you are just creating for work, and it's all work, and it's nothing that stirs your heart. And if your music isn't stirring your heart in some way, and you don't get into your own music, and I'm not talking about just being a fan of, like, I'm so good and that kind of thing. I'm talking about if you are not writing music that moves you and also does well out there, I think then you're not going to have a very fulfilling life as a composer. So these are just some of the things. I could go on, but good Lord, it's already 12:30. I got to keep moving. So let me know what you think of this. Let me know where you are. Again, you need to know where I am in life. I'm in a place where I am focused on the legacy of what I want to do, and I'm doing the things that I love to do. So that's me, and I'm going to be a little different. Let's see if there are any comments about that. Going back to templates, Andrea says, your template is a template for a composer. Yes, I would like to think so. Mix Club says, I have a template for mixing, but when I use it, it's more about the bussing. Well, that makes sense. That's a whole different deal. The production template is a bit of a different deal, I think. Matthias says, I agree, Eric. My template has over 1,000 tracks deactivated by standard. On every articulation on its own, I do not use the key switches. So he's talking about an orchestral template. And to me, I think that's a different deal. If you're writing orchestral, you need to have an orchestral template that's sitting there ready to go. That'll save you a lot of time. I mean, that's the whole thing, because you're going to use, strings and brass and winds and percussion. And so you need to have those all kind of set up. Shane says, I don't use a template. Like to create a new sound palette for each song. And I am there too, Shane, at this point. And he says, plus it gives me a chance to explore new sounds. Absolutely. And I think that's important. We got to break out of these chains of 4-bar loops and templates where we only have the same songs to use all the time. Fret Noise says, find a way to take enjoyment in it, even if you're meeting a client goal. Otherwise, it will be lacking in your passion. Certainly. Betty, thank you for joining. I was trying to send emails out. I didn't get a chance to. I'm going to review your song today. So hang tight. You're coming up. Shane, agree. I agree, says Mix Club. I have saved temps for more research of my workflow, kind of like a temp time capsule. All right, everybody's welcoming Betty. Welcome, Betty. Arco says, my template has no tracks, but only a limiter on my master track. Yeah, That sounds about right. And that sounds about right where I am. I do want to talk about this next thing for just a sec and get all of your thoughts, because I've been talking with a couple of people this week. Some of you know who you are. And I've been talking about doing, as after last week's Should I Start an Academy, which I'll try to remember to put up here sometime after I edit this. But on that Make Music Income thing, I was talking about, should I start an academy? I'm not starting an academy. I never was going to start an academy. But I did start talking about the mastermind, and that has been something that people have expressed interest in. And a mastermind is a weekly Zoom meeting where I meet with a very small number of people, 6 to 8 people, for 12 weeks. And I'm looking at doing one starting in January, one for the Make Music Income channel, and one for my audience here. And I really think of these, I know all of you, most of you, look at my videos on both channels. And I think of them both as kind of one channel, even though this one focuses more on composing. But the Make Music Income one is going to be for people who are really looking to make income. That's the whole point of the channel. That's the whole point of the mastermind. The HelloComposers mastermind is going to be more towards composers working together every week, having accountability with each other, trying to work towards new composition, listening to your compositions every week, and then also including probably some one-on-one Zoom talks as well. So I'm going to be announcing this soon and would love to know your thoughts about it. Anybody I think it's a good idea, give me a thumbs up in the chat, or let me know in the comments if you're watching later if this is interesting to you to be part of the HelloComposers Mastermind. There will only be about 6 to 8 slots, about 6 to 8, not 68, 6 or 8 slots available where I will work with just a small group of composers towards certain composing goals and then listening like I do here, but probably a little bit more face-to-face and where you can ask questions faster and things like that. So let me know if you have interest in this. Comfort Noise says thumbs up. Mastermind says sounds interesting, says Andreas. Daydream says that's a really good idea. So yeah, Shane is giving me a thumbs up. I'm really looking forward to these just because Betty says she'd love to be part of it. I'm really excited about the possibilities of this. I've done masterminds before. I had a licensing mastermind that I did with some of my clients to kind of start to change, the thinking of people from just artistry to being artists that make music in licensing and a back end that they could possibly find. And so I'm doing that with both my channels. I'll be doing 2 different masterminds on different days, and I think it'll be interesting. So, all right, well, let's move on into listening to some music today. Today we're going to start with Matthias, also known as Daydreams, already here, and his song is called Rage and Revenge. And let me find out what he told me about this song. And by the way, people, if I, for some reason, get your song wrong and the name wrong or anything, make sure you tell me in the comments. I know I had Rage and Revenge in here. Where are the notes for Rage and Revenge? Let's see if I can find that. Or if, Daydreams, you want to tell us anything about it rather than me going back and searching for it. But I can find it rather easily. Here we go. The goal was a trailer-like track. Oh, I did have it written over here. The goal is a trailer-type track which mirrors anger and desperation from to a revenge come true. Like enough is enough. It waves between more calm parts and very aggressive parts. There are several short versions for the track, but I also made a calmed version, which keeps the main theme and should be suitable for no action scenes as a background music. Maybe that makes the track more versatile for the customers. If there's times you could also play the calm version. Well, I'll only have time to play one version here. And so let's go over and share. Let's share. Where is it? Let's share. Oh, there it is. Logic. So you can see my Logic screen. All right. We're going to listen to Rage and Revenge by Matthias, or as he's known here, Daydreams. Here we go. Oops. Let's start at the beginning, shall we? Let's start at the beginning. Here we go. Wow, that is scary. I was a little scared there. Yes, I don't know if Betty is putting blood or, oh no, I guess that's fire. I thought it was blood. That would be not the right thing. Yeah, this is very good. Dave agrees. This is stellar. Very, very good stuff, Matthias. Great sounding trailer action. Rage and Revenge is perfect for this because even at the end, you give it a chance to end with a nice soft thing, and you don't. You slap them right in the end, punch them right back in the face again. Afro Mike, good to see you. He says amazing stuff. Yeah, you bring us. You do the standard drops, which are great. They're not exactly in all the same places. I mean, I guess they're pretty much in the same places, but man, I think it's perfectly timed. It's perfectly. I love the size of it. Well, we got about 2 minutes and 12 seconds. I love that. And even though I'm no trailer expert, I've played around with making some, but it's just not necessarily something that just like, oh, I have to make a trailer. I really, really need to make a trailer. Arco says he is raging. He's filled with rage and revenge. He wants revenge on you for that track so he can make another track. Yeah, I like this. Let me see if there's any other comments I have as far as other than just gushing. That is really long there. That first drop, but I love it, and I think it's unique and different. Sometimes some people might say, well, it's not like the usual drop because the usual drop is blah, 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 blah. And by the way, I hope you were thinking about your ending before you were thinking about about finishing this thing. Dystopian sounds, Shane says. Yes, agreed. I don't know what if you're where your goal is with this. Share with us, Daydreams, a little bit what your goals for this are. Is it going? Are you pitching this to trailer libraries and things like that? Are you putting an album of these together? Is what I would recommend, or a good amount of them to show a library, because I think you are right there. Arco says Sammy J needs to listen to this. Who also is a very great producer of trailers and composer of trailer music. But yeah, I just don't have many comments on this. I love the fact that at the end, instead of giving us just a nice ending, usually we'd go bomb, but no, we get this. One last slap in the face for revenge. So pretty great, man. All right, I'm going to be moving quickly today because I've got limited time, and we'll see if he may just have to come visit me. Stevie and I are supposed to be doing our podcast today, starting about 10 minutes, but as you can tell, we're busy here. All right, the next song we're going to listen to is by, I'm going to guess on this, Heikki Niemela, Visions from the Forest. So let's see what they said about this. This is the first of 3 songs I made for Spotify, all some progressive and jazz-flavored rock instrumental. Progressive, jazz-flavored rock instrumental. Alrighty then. Well, let's go take a listen now and see what this progressive jazz rock sounds like. Here we go. Time's sake, we'll probably have to stop there, and we just goes back in and gets back into the thing here, builds up. Okay, so unfortunately, I don't have time for a 4-minute jazz opus today, but man, do I love the sound of this song. Very, very cool. Got a very Pat Metheny sound to it. If you don't know who Pat Metheny is, he is a jazz guitarist, and has been around for 20, 30 years as one of the leaders of progressive jazz, progressive contemporary jazz, and this definitely falls in that whole thing, especially the quiet down part. Really nice. If for some reason I feel like there could be some Lyle Mays like piano in this song, I feel like you could add that in, and it wouldn't get in the way. It doesn't have. It could be sparse. It wouldn't have to get in the way of the guitar. But I think the guitar is so cool in this, and love all the kind of different sounding key work moving in through different keys. Just changing it in different keys, all in. I'm not sure if I'm hearing time signatures change. We're in 6 for most of that, but very cool. And that's what I love about this. I love when you all just send me all sorts of different things. And this is what I'm talking about. This is a composer's channel. This isn't about, oh yeah, you need to send this to a library because you can make money. This is about how great the song is on its own. We're putting songs on display here. We're putting songs on the pedestal on this channel, and composers on the pedestal, rather than libraries or Spotify or anything like this. We're really celebrating you as a composer and you as someone who is creating a type of music that stirs your soul. And so this is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Will this song be great in stock music? No, probably not. Will this be great use for in a film or TV show? Maybe not, but it doesn't matter. It's great music, and to me, that is way more important. I love the vibe. Fret Noise says, it took me a bit to get into the vibe, maybe after coming from that trailer music. Okay, that is one set, and I think our ears on these kind of type of programs and these type of YouTube channels that you guys listen to and I listen to, we don't hear a lot of jazz there, unless you're on my channels. But you don't hear a lot of jazz necessarily. You hear a lot of things that are just meant for television and film, just meant for production music, just meant for stock licensing to go great behind a travel video on YouTube or something like that. Is it good for Arrange Me? I don't think this is good for Arrange Me. This is a jazz song. We have to remember there are other things other than just the normal things, the online sites that we can write and present our songs to and make money from. And this may sound funny from Make Music Income Guy, but the other side of Make Music Income Guy is that I have to make music that is artistic, and in that artistic music has to make money. If it makes money, great. If it doesn't make money, I'll find places and an audience that will enjoy it. And that's just the bottom line. So great work. And thank you so much for this song. Very, very cool. All right, let's move on now. Don't forget, if you're watching this channel, Betty, whoever is new here, make sure you have subscribed to HelloComposers. This is a new channel I'm just trying to get going and just trying to make it a safe haven for all of you composers out there who are trying to build a life in composing. Whether that means you're going to make music income or not, you're going to be a composer. It's your heart. It's who you are. I see students coming in all the time. Some are focused on being engineers. Some are focused on being producers. Some want to make money in some way or be an artist. And some just by being allowed to compose, they find a new, almost like a new appendage appears on them, that this new love of writing music, composing music, and that's what this channel is all about. So if you like this channel, please subscribe right down below. The button has changed, but it does the same thing. It's rounder now, and I don't know why, but it is. So click on that subscribe button. All right, and like this video too. That wouldn't hurt me at all as this thing goes. All right, so the next song I have is There Is a Way. I am assuming, if I am right, and I think I did chase this back. This is you, Andreas. Am I not wrong? and it's hard because Andreas is emailing me on my other YouTube, but I believe this is you. So if I'm wrong and this is someone else's song, tell me. But I'm pretty sure this is Andreas, There's a Way. Let me see if there's any notes that I have on. Oh, the goal was a trailer-like track which mirrors. Oh, no, sorry. That was the other track. Sorry, I wrote Andreas wrong. Oh, here it is. This song is for a review called, this song is called There's a Way. It is an instrumental. Do you think it could make music income? Where do you see this kind of music? I recorded the piano on the Roland RD88. I just played a Roland RD88 yesterday. I love it. I don't think I need it, but I love that keyboard. And he said, while I played live, that is why it's not perfect quantized, but I'm pretty happy with it. The bass is also played live through the song. The drums are programmed. Lower strings are played via MIDI, and the higher ones come from Stevie B's free pack, thanks to Stevie B. So a little Stevie B shout out. And Stevie gonna be mad at me here in a minute because I'm not gonna be ready for our podcast because I started this thing too dang late. But hey, you're getting a live stream today, and I wasn't sure I was gonna be able to do it today. So here we are. All right, so we're moving on to Andreas, There Is a Way. Let's take a listen. I always feel like a disc jockey when I say that. Here we go. Nice. Interesting. Interesting ending. Probably could have had a stronger ending than that, I think. Bum, bum, bum. Maybe end on the 5 or something like that. Might be cool. Very catchy chorus. Agreed. I love the chorus of this song. I probably love the chorus more than anything. I love the piano on it. Fret noise just feels like there is room for lyrics. I'm not sure I agree with that. I don't disagree that lyrics could be on it, but you would have to take the piano melody off and have someone sing to it. Andrea says, yeah, ending. Marley says, I like it. Nice tune. Piano arpeggios need cleaning up. Yeah, and Andreas, I would say the entire thing needs cleaning up. This sounds like a live version, which everything was, a few things were played live. And I know your RD88, you played live. What I would do with your RD88 is I would hook it into your system so you can play the MIDI into Logic or whatever you're using, and then use your and then go in and clean it up. Quantize it, clean it up, and then have it play back to your RD88, and then record that. That's what I would do and what I have done in the past. And I think the RD88 actually kind of works as a lot of these new keyboards, like the RD88, I know my Yamaha did it. The interface goes both ways, audio and MIDI. And so USB is capturing audio and can capture the audio pretty quickly and bounce it pretty quickly. So how you do that, the actual stuff, we're not going to go over here, but I would really do that and clean that up. The drums sound fine to me, but yes, the piano, I think as you do this, make sure your bass is nice. Bass sounds fine, but again, sometimes it is not together. You can quantize audio bass if you need to, or replay parts. But the piano, since it's the star, it really needs to be quantized. I also think at the beginning, it's a little rough. I love the intro, but then it seems like there's two intros. We've got this intro. We've got this intro here, which I think is real. At first I thought it was going to be like a, let me tell you, girl, I got something to say to you. And then it starts like this. And is that the, which is kind of the verse of this song, right? So I think your intro might be able to be a little longer. But otherwise, great song. Really enjoyed listening to it. And very cool. All right, moving on here. We're going to move to David Bax. David sent this song Back to School. And let's just get listening to it. What? No reason to just sit here and talk all day long. Here we go. David Bax, Back to School. Oh, wait. He did send me some notes. See? Psych. This song was intended for stock and done for Pond 5's call for back to school music, but I never submitted it. I got delayed while making it. That never happens. I hear some things I'd like to change. For example, a weird delay near the end. One thing I'm curious about is if people think the song minus the school bell would work as a quirky corporate track, or should I keep it as is, focused on the back to school theme? So I can tell you right away, you should do both. You should have a version with and without the sound effects, is what I'm always told. But let's take a listen. Yeah, very fun. A lot of people have said fun and nice. Fresh teen feeling, says Andrea. Careful. Let's have some fun. Be catchy. Yeah, it's a really nice tune and fun tune. I think you've got the claps, which really makes this kind of thing work. A very positive vibe. Betty gives it a thumbs up. A fun, catchy song. Says Daydreams. He likes it. I like it too, and I think you could do several versions with the school bell and without. I also think you could do some if you had some recordings of some kids going or some young people sounding, hey, it might also fit in this type of song. Heys are always fun and add to the fun. So you might consider that as something that kind of adds to it. Anything you can do to make this, it's already very fun. And so I think, yes, the answer to your question, should you be submitting this to stock libraries and stuff like that? Yes, go ahead. This kind of stuff will work all the time, whether they're going back to school or not. I think this will work all the time. Keep it as a back to school theme, but it doesn't have to be focused on that. You in your description say a fun too good for Pond 5. Arco says it's too good for Pond 5. But yeah, I think yeah, it's really a fun song, and I think that yeah, absolutely record your 3-year-old in there, but make it fun, keep it bouncy, and if you have different versions, that's fine. But I love all the different kinds of sounds, and I think it's a lot of fun. And a corporate track, I'm not so sure about that. I think to me, I mean, I guess it could be used. I see this maybe for travel videos because it's got a lot of kind of world sound in it, kind of almost a reggae type of groove going on with that bass. And so, I think it could be used for a lot of things. I would concentrate on this being positive and fun in your description and all the keywords that go along with that kind of thing. But you could say could be used for travel videos, corporate videos, or even back to school videos or something like that is what I would do if I was on a channel called Make Music Income, which I'm not. Compositionally, it's just fun. It does repeat a lot of the same things, but you're bringing in different instruments. Your arrangement is very nice and it's very fun. So I really like it. Well, thank you so much for that. And everybody, remember, if you want to get, if you're watching this and you're not having songs sent, reviewed today, make sure you go to just your favorite email program and email me an MP3 and why you made your song and how you made your song to HelloComposers@gmail.com, and I will get you on an upcoming broadcast. But for now, I need to move on to the next person, and the next song is called Roadster. It's by Sai Rahul. Again, I hope I'm not butchering that, but let's listen to this song. Sai says, this is, thank you so much for all the amazing info. I'm a fan of your work on the community, stock, sync, and ways to generate income. I'd like to submit my song Roadster. I made it because I love the synth wave, retro wave genre, and I wanted to try my luck with it. So let's take a listen to this song, Roadster. And we'll probably only be able to listen to a couple minutes. All right, so again, it depends. If you're wanting to use this song for stock and things like that, I think we've got a length problem here. It's very nice. A lot of people like the sound of it. I think the synthwave sound certainly works for me as far as I'm concerned. But I think you could even get even more synthwavy with it. It's very good. I think sometimes modern synthwave sounds a little too modern. We got to be careful with that a little bit. But I think song-wise, it's very nice. I love the melody that's going on there. I know someone said, Arco said he felt the melody was a little loopy. It could have more movement. Fret Noise says perfect for the genre. Comfort Noise says has a light boppy feel to it. Nice sounds. The sounds are perfect for the genre, Fret Noise meant. Yeah, I think the sounds are perfect. I think it just, maybe there's another element. I do feel like looking at this song, it's really long, and certainly a 4-minute and 28 song is probably not what you want to be sending to stock for this kind of thing. I think you could find a way to build this and end it somewhere in the 2.5 minute place. And that might let you not go so long on certain sections. I think arrangement wise, it might go on a little long. Again, for background music that is being used for Stranger Things or something like that, then this is fine. But for, you know, if we're looking at music where we want to have, you know, other stuff going on besides just a wall of synthwave, you might want to tighten this arrangement up and get you a good 2 to 3 minute arrangement for it. But really cool and great sounds. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, now let's move on to Comfort Noise, who's been hanging out here in the chat. So good to have you here today. And the song is called 90s Dance. And let me see. Just getting back into stock music creation is about all he said. 90s Dance. Comfort Noise. If you have any other comments you want to know about this, make sure you put them. Here's the description, he says, of mine. He's writing it now. We're all waiting. Back to the last song, Fret Noise feels like it could have bumped up just a few BPM. I'm not mad at that comment. I wouldn't hurt for that song to have a little bit more. Daydream said, I like the song, but here we have the 4-bar loop case a bit. The sound is good. The vibe is good. Yeah. And this is why with 4-bar loops, I think you've got to really change things up a lot and or play one of the instruments like the synth bass. Maybe that could be played the whole way through and then go back and edit it rather than just using the same bass loop or the same. I just think we get too caught up. Once we get a 4-bar loop we like and we stretch it out and we make the arrangement, I often go back and replay certain things all the way through. So it's not just the same thing over and over and over. And I think that helps the ear stay interested in listening for a good long time. All right, Comfort Noise says about this song, this track is meant to emulate 90s dance, drum and bass techno music. It started out as a song I started having fun with, and now I think about posting it to my first exclusive stock song. All right, cool. Well, let's take a listen now and listen to Comfort Noise, 90s Dance EXC. And here we go. Sorry, I just realized I have to share this. Let's start this again. Let's start this again and show the logic stream. All right, here we go. Yeah, that is cool. I like that. I think the one thing missing for me on this, if you're going to make this a dance, drum and bass and techno thing, I think the thing missing for me is the club type kick. I might like to have a little bit more kick from that's going on. Argo says the only thing that stops him from dancing now is he just ate dinner. So, but I think the kick is, I think it could have a little bit more kick going on. Again, I don't know. I know you're probably not trying to make it so you're thinking dance, but I think club, adding a little bit of a club kick might help. Also, I like the fact that you're adding lots of different things in, and I like the breakdown. I would think that you could do drum and bass versions. I always, for a song like this, I will always do a stripped down version to stock that also includes just the drums and the bass, and just do a real D&B thing without all the melodic things. Maybe it might have a chord or two in it, but it doesn't have the all the little ear candy stuff going on. It's just the beat and the bass. And I think if you strip it down to the beat and the bass, you might find that the beat could be a little bit more complicated, or I should say, you could add to the beat a little bit. You could add to the kick and add to the drums a little bit. For a drums and bass song, it sometimes feels like it doesn't have as much drum and bass as I'd like it to have. So strip it back down, and if you did a drum and bass version of this song, what would it sound like? And if you took out all the ear candy and used it just for that, because there are stock people who would just like to have that kind of really stripped down thing back behind them, and drum and bass type of sound without the other stuff on it. So see what you think about that. But good song, very cool. And yeah, I like the fact that you did the breakdown. That really helps to break it up a little bit. You might even consider doing that earlier in the song too. That might be something that you consider. All right, now we're going to move to Miss Betty, a new person here in who's been commenting on the songs here, and her song is called mini screens. Her song is called Penn Street, Penn, and let me just call it up here. Then you'll know what it's called. Betty Lyles, Penn Street, and in her notes, she sent me about this song. Thank you. I am writing this about 5 years ago for my youth choir, but I didn't finish it once the pandemic started. That disciplined me to finish the piece and hopefully get it picked up for sync one day. Well, we'll be the judge of that, Betty. Let's listen now to Betty Lyles and Penn Street. Let's start at the beginning, Penny. Let's start at the beginning. Oh, there, Betty. Yeah, this is really nice. So as you see in the comments already, Betty, there are people wondering. Well, I'm wondering what the string sounds that you're using are. If you can tell me what library that you're using for the violin and for the piano and stuff, I would love to know. Shane, now this one, Arco asked earlier if a song could be on Arrange Me. Shane says this could make a great piano violin arrangement for Arrange Me. If you don't know what Arrange Me is, it's just a place where you can put your sheet music up or your scores up for people to play. And people are looking for things like this all the time. They're looking for violin and piano arrangements, violinists who are looking to do church services or concerts or whatever. They're looking for sheet music to use in these type of things. That makes perfect sense. And that's pretty dang good. If you, all right. So this is something that is totally on the opposite side of dumb, of my comments earlier about dumb things. I think that some people get so caught up in trying to create and buy the biggest samples and all this kind of stuff, and they and then I get somebody who creates something amazing from GarageBand, and to me this is just amazing. And Andrea says that too. Wow, just with GarageBand that was great. So Marley also says, wow, yeah, you were all like, oh, the samples aren't that great, and thinking they're probably like some cheaper library of string samples. No, they're GarageBand, my friends. Argo says too good with GarageBand, like really good. And yeah, you are blowing people's minds in this chat right now from GarageBand. Wow, Jonathan, good to see you. Yeah, people trying to transition to Studio One. Good. Studio One is a great DAW. And I would recommend some Spitfire things for you, young lady. I mean, other people might like other libraries, but looking at some libraries like Spitfire, there are different libraries, and there are ones. If you find that you are, we're freaking out for GarageBand. Hey, GarageBand. If you call up GarageBand currently on any Mac computer, and you try to compare it to Logic, you might not know which one you're looking at because they look the same. GarageBand on the Mac currently, the newest version, looks exactly like Logic. And so it's a great place to start. If you have a Mac and you don't know which DAW to use, or you're using some freeware or something, get yourself GarageBand. If nothing else, if you have a Mac, you should have GarageBand anyway. And the current version is very good. Marley says a master class of it's not the paint, it's the painter. Yes, and what he means by that is it's not GarageBand, it's the person using GarageBand. I've had clients before that have sent me amazing things they've done on GarageBand. I'm like, what do you use, Logic or Pro Tools or what? They say no, GarageBand. I'm like, what the? Are you kidding me? You got those sounds out of GarageBand. So yeah. Daydream Studio suggests Joshua Bell violin from Embertone would be very nice for this piece. I think where you can tell the melodic, and as you can tell, no one is saying anything about the melodies or the arrangement, because we're not finding fault there. And it's mainly because our ears are being drawn by the attack of that violin, I think, or at least mine are, and so that's why we're freaking out that it was so good, all done in GarageBand. Very great job. But yeah, finding the right library is going to be key for you as you continue as a composer. I think as far as, is this song ready for, no, I would not send this yet. I would transition this song into your new DAW and transition the violin sounds. And was there cello as well? I'm not sure if I heard a kind of a cello-ish type of a counter melody or something going on, but I would wait till you have better samples. I think the problem that I did hear with this particular mix, and it might be due to GarageBand, is the lack of what am I trying to say? Dynamics that I hear with this. Everything is very packed, and the violin and the piano and everything. This should be have a very large dynamic range as far as there should be a lot of top end, a lot of air that we hear. And like we're listening to this on stage, and it sounds a little just too compressed and too close mic'd. And I would rather hear a little bit more scoring stage on this, something like that. Yeah, I'm not even going to worry about the mix right now, but I'm more talking about dynamic range. I tend to teach my students that dynamic range loudness is like this, and tone and frequency is like this. And so when you have dynamic range and you have all this dynamic range and everything is just pegging up here, that's fine for drum and bass and for rock and for metal and hip hop and stuff. But for this kind of music, there should be a lot of dynamic range where you don't feel like everything is really pressed in together. Arco mentions leaps in melody. I always preach leaps, gigantic leaps in melody. You can look at my how I compose and videos that we've already done. But certainly I think there are things that the melody could do towards the end that are da 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 ya, da da, could really have some larger leaps. So that's a really great piece of advice right there. So you are absolutely welcome for all the advice. Please keep joining us here on HelloComposers. Would love to get some great composers from all around the world, both men and women. And I think sometimes, I know by my stats, this tends to be a male-dominated space. And a young dominated space. So I like to see people of all ages. Thanks so much for being here, Daydreams. I think I only have, I have one more song to show, but I didn't put it in here for some reason. So let me add it because it is our friend who just came into the chat. I can't do your song because you didn't send me an MP3. Beat Le Juice, and I need an MP3 to play it. If you want to send it to me, I might be able to, I'll show off my song and then I'll be able to throw your song in here and we'll talk about it here real quick. Thanks for being here today, Matthias. Have a great day. So yeah, send me an MP3 to hellocomposers@gmail.com. I've got my email open. But because I did not, I think, I might be wrong. Let me see. Beetlejuice. Oh, wait a minute. No, I have it. Beetlejuice. I'll find it. Beetlejuice. I get it. Beetlejuice. Okay. I will find it here real quick. Hold on a second. Let me see. Let me make sure I just am not being wrong. Talk amongst yourselves. Chat amongst yourselves in the chat as I'm looking for this. Let's see. Where is this here? Beetlejuice. No, yet you sent me a Dropbox. It's a wave. I have it. I know what happened. It came in as a zip file and I have to unzip it. That's why it's important to send me MP3s. If you do send me things, just simple MP3s, it really helps a lot. And that way, I don't have to download things and things don't get lost. And I download them and I have them. When you send zip files, then I have to find out when it was zipped and where it when it may have gotten here. So it's not as easy to find the MP3. But I'm going to play for you while we're trying to figure that out, my song from this week. And it's the song, if you're hanging around at the very start with the clock, with the countdown, I was playing. It's called All Together Forward. And this song basically is a song that I started when I was working a few months ago, and all the students were busy MIDIing, making MIDI things, and I made this song called All Together Forward. I wanted something that had a beat to it, that had some orchestral elements to it, and then it just grew out of control. And as you can hear at the very end, it gets really out of control. So let's listen to All Together Forward by me. All right, that was All Together Forward. Any thoughts? Thanks for the news thoughts. Yes, I've heard that a little bit since I've been showing it off, that it sounds like the weekly positive news, happy vibes, morning breakfast show. Yeah, hopefully. This is one that is probably going to, I've already put it up on stock, so we'll see. I have this album I did before called Orchestronic Stories, which is electronic and orchestral. And so it's going in a new version of that. And this will go in some libraries that I can take down if need be very quickly. And if I get these signed to, well, I don't want to get into all that, but I had a really good time making it. I love bringing in all the horns. The horns, I think they come from Sam, Project Sam. A lot of the other strings come from Logic and come from Albion. I'm starting to do stuff in Logic, and then I'm starting to bring in Albion things. So the pizzicato thing likely was some kind of talking about this. Those are actually like winds, but I'm not sure. Yeah, that's all Albion, different kinds of winds from Albion right there. All right, Beetlejuice, I was able to find your file, and now we're going to listen to Beetlejuice, Funk on My Mind. I even have to create him a banner. Funk on My Mind. And he did send me something on this. Let's see what he sent me in my notes here. He said, here's a song I made yesterday. I would love your feedback on it as I'm new to the stock music game. All right, well, let's listen to this song. I've added you in because I meant to add you in. I had you in my notes. So let's listen now to Funk on My Mind. Nice. Love the horns. Nice trombone. Very cool. This is where I want to look at the camera and say to you, we're at the very beginning of this show. I talked about some things that drive me crazy and advice that's given. And one of the things that's given is the 4-bar, just make a 4-bar loop and then just stretch it out and as long as you want and groove to it. And I think this really grooves to it. My problem here is that I think you could take that bass and that bass player could live his own life and not be locked into a 4-bar loop that is he's locked into, and he can never play any other notes than that 4-bar bass loop. And maybe I missed some things, but I think that I would go back through and play that bass all the way through and just have some fun with that bass. I think we live in a 4-bar loop land that we don't get out of. And this song, nobody's going to be mad at this song being this, and this will be perfect for stock. And this reminds me of, in some ways, of some of Stevie B's stuff that he's having real good success with on Artlist and especially on Motion Array. Very upbeat, very fun, very cool. But bass is great, and the bass line is great, but the bass line is very, very it's a very, very small sample size. It's like one little bass line rather than that bass line. There's a real bass player would play that with a little bit more stuff. And for a song like this that's got real horns or horn sounds and bass and real guitars and stuff in it sounding, I think those things need to sound humanized, not unquantized, but humanized. And I think that brings a broader and more, what's the word I'm looking for? Natural sound to this kind of music. Yeah, bass, and remember, Arco, we spell bass guitar with 2 S's, B-A-S-S. But, at least this kind of bass. But we really need, I would let a bass player go crazy and do some different things here with this. I think the guitar is fine, but the guitar could also do some little things. And the horns are doing cool things. I think it's all great, and I love the sound of it. It was a little compress for my, again, a little over saturated dynamically, and which for this particular thing is not bad, but I don't think it has to be that much. It was just a little bit pressing and hurt my ears a little bit. So I would suggest bringing that down a little bit in your mix. But from as far as the song goes, I think your timing is just about right as far as how long it is. Yeah, only under 2 minutes long. We're happy with that. We're happy to see an under 2 minute song. So, well, everybody, I just have to thank you for being part of things today. It's been another fun day here for me, and another amazing demonstration of the different kinds of songs that that you guys have, and yeah, just super impressed with the kinds of songs you do. What a great show. Yes, Andreas, thanks for being here. Beetlejuice says, you're totally right about the repetitiveness. I tried to recreate the funk song that did well on Motion Array. Good job. And it was really locked to the grid with no variations. Yeah, and Steve will tell you that it doesn't have to, but I'm going to tell you something different. And I'm going to tell you that you can do a few little variations without, even Steve will go in and do different things to different little pieces of the thing as it goes along. Don't be afraid to do something different, to be yourself, to be unique. I think sometimes we are so focused on doing what the other guy did, where he made money, that we are not being artistic. So make sure you're being artistic. Jonathan says, great show. Thanks so much for being here, Jonathan. Marley, thanks for being here. Yes, I will love to see your submission. And yeah, I always try to really carefully make sure that people that new people are being, spotlighted here. So make sure you guys subscribe. Tell your friends if you had a song on today and you want to tell a composer friend about this, please do. I'm trying to spread the word about this channel, trying to make this channel kind of grow. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up down there. I think that helps the algorithm. I don't really know. I don't really care because I'm going to put these things up anyway at whatever cost. I love doing it. Thanks, Rhett. It was a fun show. It's always good to hang out with you guys and you composers, and we're hanging out as composers. Betty, thank you so much for being here. It was great to have you here as part of the show today and your song, and look forward to seeing your growth as you move into your new DAW. And if you ever have any questions, be sure to email me at HelloComposers@gmail.com, and would love to talk to you. And everybody, have a great day today. Arco, have a great day out there. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I'm glad you enjoyed it today. Yes, great composers as usual. All of you were great. And I'll be sending you all an email about with the link to the video, so you can show people, send people to specific time points if you want to hear your song being featured and what we talked about. So make sure you are sending. Hey, yeah, Beetlejuice, right in time, man. Great job. And thanks for being part of it. Can't wait to see what you are coming up with in the future. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Make sure you subscribe. You can find me at Eric Copeland. You can find me at HelloComposers. Should be HelloComposers. Somebody did not do their name right, but HelloComposers@gmail.com, or HelloComposers over on Instagram, over on here on YouTube, over on TikTok. Come over to TikTok. I try to do some TikToks from time to time, but more than that, make sure you subscribe, and we will see you guys next week here on Hello Composers. Usually we do this on Wednesdays. Yesterday I went to see Wakanda Forever, so gotta have a little me time sometimes. So went to see a movie and enjoyed that a lot. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. Have a good week. I'm going to say bye-bye now. Going to end the broadcast. Say bye. Everybody wave. Wave bye. Goodbye, composers. Thomas, good to see you. We're leaving now. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye. Goodbye, composers. Goodbye, composers.